Hello, dear students. I'm very glad to welcome you to our first lecture on the discipline Methods of Foreign Language Education. Let me introduce myself. My name is Kadырmанова Алтыншаш Курманбековна. The topic of our today's lecture is the methodology of foreign language education. The issues of today's lecture, the first, methodology of foreign language teaching as a scientific theory, and the second, approaches, methods, and techniques. Now we will study the first question of today's lecture, methodology of foreign language education, foreign language teaching as a scientific theory. The task of methodology is to enhance the process of teaching English by empowering and facilitating teachers to work proficiently. Teaching involves a continuous analysis of one's own work, the experiences of other teachers, and the search for new means to improve teaching. When teaching a foreign language, a teacher must think about the specific qualities offered to students of a certain mother tongue. That means that the methodology of teaching English has to take into account the problems posed by the English language for the students who will learn it. The methodology of teaching English stands in relation with several challenges or problems. For the first question, what to teach? That means the amount of knowledge, skills, and habits that students have to obtain within the process of learning the language. What are the aims of teaching? It is the second question. What are the aims of teaching? When a teacher is sure of the aim of teaching, he or she will have the easiness of reaching the intended goal. And the third question, how to teach? How to teach? In this case, one can call to mind the principles upon which teaching of English is based, the means, methods, fashion, and tactics used in teaching in order to achieve the required final completion. The answers to these questions define the echelon of methodology as a science. As a consequence, it determines the nature of the problems to be dealt with. For successful teaching, teachers are required several initiatives. The teachers has, for the first, to awaken and develop the potentiality and ability of students for studying. The second, to help students develop habits through frequent repetition. Next, to inspire, to kindle the interest of the students in studying. Also, the teacher should know how to go from easy stages to more difficult one. There are a few of ideas of language teaching set forth by Palmer that have proved to be sound and effective even today. And as Robert Lado emphasized, when teaching English, one should be aware of the following principles. Speech before writing, the development of habits by means of pattern practice. The next, the cultural approach. This last one principle is of great importance as it means the understanding of language in terms of indigenous meaning. And now let's study the next question. The methodology of teaching foreign languages as a scientific theory. Methods of foreign language teaching is a scientifically tested theory concerning the teaching of foreign language in schools and other educational institutions. It covers three main problems. The first problem, it is aims. Aims of teaching and foreign language. The second, content of teaching. For example, what to teach to attain the aims. And the third, methods and techniques of teaching. How to teach a foreign language to attain the aims in the most effective way. Methods of foreign language teaching is closely related to other sciences such as pedagogy, psychology, physiology, linguistics, and some others. In methods of foreign language teaching, we differentiate between aims, long-term goals and objectives, short-term goals, immediate lesson goals. Let's speak about the aims of teaching foreign language. There are three aims which should be achieved in foreign language teaching: practical, educational, and cultural. The practical aim, the acquisition of a foreign language as a means of communication. The next, the educational aim. Through foreign language study, we can develop the pupil's intellect. Teaching a foreign language helps the teacher to develop pupils' voluntary and involuntary memory, his imaginative abilities, and willpower. And next aim, the cultural aims. Cultural aims. Learning a foreign language makes the pupil acquainted with the life, customs, and traditions of the people whose language he studies through visual material and reading material, with the countries where the target language is spoken. Content of foreign language teaching. The first component is habits and skills which pupils should acquire: listening, comprehension, speaking, reading, and writing. The second component is a linguistic one. It includes the language material, sentence pattern, dialogues, and texts, and linguistic materials, for example, phonology, grammar, and vocabulary. The third component, methodological component, for example, the techniques which pupils should acquire to learn the foreign language in a most effective way. The content of teaching is laid down in the syllabus and realized in teaching materials and in the teacher's own speech. Principles of foreign language teaching. Methods of foreign language teaching are based on the fundamental principles of didactics. Scientific approach in teaching school subjects, accessibility, durability, conscious approach and activity, visualization, and individual approach to language institutions. First, scientific approach implies careful determination of what and how to teach to achieve the aims set by the syllabus. Since the leading role belongs to the practical aim, one of the main methodological principles is the principle of practical and the communicative approach. It means pupils should be involved in oral and written communication throughout the whole course of learning the foreign language. Pupils are taught a foreign language as a means of communication. The next principle is closely connected with the selection of the material and its arrangement to provide accessibility for language learning on the part of the pupils. The third, the principle of durability implies the ability of a pupil to keep in his memory linguistic and language material. The durability is ensured by vivid presentation of the material, by constant revision of the drill, by the use of the material for communicative needs, by systematic control. The fourth, the principle of conscious approach to language meaning implies comprehension of a linguistic phenomenon of language material by pupil. Pupils are supposed to understand both the form and the content of the material and to be aware of how they should treat the material while performing various examples. The fifth, the principle of activity. In teaching a foreign language, it is necessary to stimulate pupils' activity by involving them in the act of communication in the target language, either in its oral listening, speaking, or written reading and writing forms. one needs a lot of practice in the use of the language to master it. Sixth, the principle of visualization. Visualization may be defined as specially organized demonstration of linguistic material and language behavior characteristic of the target language with the purpose of helping the pupils in understanding, assimilating, and utilizing this in connection with the task set. Visualization implies an extensive use of audiovisual aids and audiovisual materials throughout the whole content of foreign language teaching. And the last principle, the principle of individualization. The teacher should assess the progress of each individual in the class and find the way how to manage the classroom activity so the slowest learners are not depressed by being left behind, and the fastest and most able learners are not frustrated by being held back. So, dear students, we examined in detail in the first question of today's lecture methods of teaching a foreign language as a scientific theory. In the next lesson, in the next lecture, we will study the second question of today's lecture, approaches and the methods and techniques. Goodbye, dear students. Thank you.